Why are we given the Sabbath? The Ethics of the Sabbath. Why are we given the Sabbath? To many, nature is man's greatest adoration, so the Sabbath is very much a representation of this, or at least the responsibilities to acclimate such a statement. It's the important day of the 7-day week, and the important year of the 7-year cycle. Nature as nature is predetermined and defined by God, and His will, including the consequential effects from deterring from His perfect will to keep creation in harmony and well, functional, practical, reasonable, rational, worthwhile, purposeful, justifiable, and a commandment was given to abide by a rule that a day will be given to respect. Men who are the least of God's priorities in this context for man's own sake, we are being given a day of rest so that the animals may rest, and that the land may rest, and that the spirit of the earth may rest, or simply that the earth may rest, and that life may constitute some proficient sense of reason for its purpose at existing, and not the continuous endeavors of man, whether essential or of interest. Some do know to a greater extent that God has asked us to let the earth, people, and animals rest once every 7 days on the seventh day, and every 7 years on the seventh year. The reasons for this is because the spirit of the earth has to rest, or simply the earth has to rest. The animals have to be led to rest rather than being beasts of burden, unnecessarily for land being developed continuously as people are made to unnecessarily work for excess and expediency and to benefit the few and wealthy. God has commanded this for an important reason, as to the yield may remain in balance to man, animals, and God's will for the needs of the earth, and honoring man with his proper lot and responsibility, along with the year of rest to man, which is also accord and appreciation from God. Instead of legitimate or sincere necessity, but simply out of tradition of man and business, a man owns many homes, although he only lives in one. He can own many beds, but sleep only in one. Same goes for anything else, a car, a guitar. Lest power be abused for vanity, if evil endeavors of men are denied to occur, then yes, it's this very thing which conspiracy is referring to. I have worked as a banquet server back in my day from 2008 2020 through 2020, and had seen a common industry practice amongst both catering businesses, event halls, and restaurants as well. Endless amounts of food are thrown into the garbage that was prepared on that same day and written off as hazardous, or unsafe, unethical, to provide it to homeless or people in need, or even the employees themselves who had served the food, or to customers or guests. More than the majority of food is thrown away every day of every passing year because of the legal note that it's a liability risk, while provisions had not been made to allow simple agreements for the distribution of this food by being made acceptable to feed to a person by simple safety food consumption standards that address that the person is willing to eat food that has been properly managed, stored, and transported within said day of preparation. All the while it's of no great declaration of pronounced importance to defend or protect people from taking a vaccination that the government themselves warn is not within the confines of having responsibility over the effects or answer to the consequential results on the population. Or at least there having been raised enough awareness that yes, there is general agreement that it may not be safe, honestly. So feeding people food somehow too risky. And we have to remain on the obvious elephant in the room notion that yes, endless amounts of food is going to waste, which is creating this entire problem to begin with, due to some enterprising monopolies not wanting to let go of a dollar. Better yet, their monopolies on the food itself, regardless of its worth and value. And at the same time, we create a land developing agricultural system that is more for the sake of its owners' profit of excessive abundance or wealth. So the people, the land, including the ocean and fresh water, and animals that are raised, are all being made disposable subject of exploitation and abuse for the ambition of some prideful men and women that may say otherwise, and it's for vanity. Because in all truth it is. The point is that the Sabbath was placed for our own good, for the reason that we may not lose the plot to life into an ever-escalating crescendo that ends in disaster. There are those who see it fit to destroy God's holy creation while making their political movements claiming that they are in favor of doing what is good for the planet and its people and animals. But since when is there no liars on the face of the earth? Rumors and the use of sensationalism, which have compromised the biggest news establishments for journalism and character and affiliation, as to what they do and to what agenda under the pretense what it's to report, pretense that it's to report truth. I don't mean to bring this up, but we're on a Christian forum and somehow we're supposed to deny the existence of evil, whether it be of man, supernatural, or even the nature of consequences having an evil result, due to responsibilities being misused and misdirected, while blaming the innocent in the matter as being the culprit simply because of being involved by the hand of the ones who had done it, more specifically with the intention to do so. The Sabbath was made for man, which is why we respect it, because it's for our sake. When Jesus was confronted by the Pharisees stating that his disciples must follow tradition or pay a penalty for being unlawful by grabbing a kernel of corn as he passed through a field and considered it theft, or healing in the synagogue, calling it blasphemy, it becomes clear the hypocrisy that was being presented by Pharisees. Today's situation is more complex in nature due to our misdirection and guidelines, given they were not given by men for some effort to insult a man's intelligence and have him work for unprofitable gain under a ruse of being somehow worthwhile, but for the very sake of benefiting all. In the year that isn't developed, the soil and land is allowed to recover and replenish its fertility. The animals are given a time of living for the sake of being alive and not property. And people are given a time to reestablish their priorities and contemplation and relationship with their people, families, and the Lord. The Sabbath, a day of respect in God's presence whose purpose is not to commemorate Him, but for the very welfare and benefit to us, His creation. It may be a day or a year or land in a 70-year cycle, but the point is that it exists for a very real reason, and the reason is God. Not in word, but in truth. And to answer the question finally that people so try to misdirect, no, it's not all about Him. It's about Him, His message as well, and about us, His creation. It's about Him, it's about His message as well, and about us, His creation. Love God, love Jesus, God bless.